Hi guys, welcome to my kitchen. I'm Chef Dean Max. Today in the kitchen we're going to make pasta carbonara. It's a real classic dish, has that great bacon and eggs flavor that we all love, and I think you're going to like it. So the only difference is we're going to make it with Pici pasta, so a house-made, handmade shaped pasta. It's going to be a lot of fun. So stay with me. Subscribe right here if you're not doing so already, and give me a thumbs up if you like the video and click that bell, and I will send you all the new things I have coming up. So see you in a second. Hey guys, welcome back. Okay, let's get started on this pasta. So Pici pasta, what is this? This is this nice little hand-shaped pasta. There's variations on how to make it. Some people make it with no egg, which is just semolina, double O flour, and warm water. Maybe a little salt in that. And that makes a little bit denser dough. I like this particular recipe that comes with just the double O flour and some egg. So let's get started on that. First, we're going to take a double O flour, and that's this right here. It's a nice finely milled flour, and we're going to do 1 3/4 cups flour. So we got a cup here, boom, right in there. And then this is a 1/4 cup. So we're going to do, it's easy just to do 3 of those. 1, 2, 3. Okay? Now, you want to make sure you get this right flour. Don't use all-purpose flour. It's going to be a lot tougher. This is a really delicate, finely milled flour, and so it's going to give you nice, soft texture, and that's what we're looking for. So I'm going to take a fork. Fork is a great way to create this like little hole in this. And then I'm going to take an egg. And I'm going to crack an egg. Oops. Right, like that. I'm going to put my egg in there. All right. And then I'm going to use a 1/2 cup of warm water. So I've got some warm water right here. I'm going to put a 1/4 cup and another 1/4 cup. That's a 1/2 cup. Okay. And then I'm going to put a tablespoon of extra virgin olive oil. So I've got some extra virgin olive oil here, and I'm going to put nice squeeze in there. That's a tablespoon, or close enough, right? Now I'm going to whisk the egg up in the center with the water so it gets that mixed up, and then I'll start incorporating the flour in until this comes together. And then you just want to keep spinning it in until it comes together. Once it comes together, then we can work this with our hands. But for now, we're just looking to bring it together like this. You can see the flour is not, the powderiness of the flour is going to be gone because it's kind of all absorbed by some liquid, right? As it comes together into our dough, our kind of loose dough. And then what we're going to do is keep pressing it like this until we get more of a firm dough. And at that point, you can go and use your hands with this. So I just start to press it like this, and I work it in the bowl just with my fingers like this. And it's a little sticky, which is fine. It's where you want it to be. And eventually it's going to eat up all the flour that's in here, and it's going to come together. At that point, we can work it on the surface, right? Okay. So now that we're working it like this, it's getting less sticky and more of a dough ball texture. Okay. Now I can go like this, and a little bit will stick, and I kind of pick up those pieces as I'm going around on here, and I'll work it with the heel of my hand. Okay. And if it's a little sticky, you can add a little bit more flour, like this, right? We don't want to add too much more flour though, just barely enough so it's not sticking. So you could see that was just a dusting, and it made a big difference, right? So with that, I'm going to keep working this, and probably just work it for maybe like a minute or two, right? We just want to develop the texture a bit. And what we end up with is this nice dough ball. Now, with that, I'm going to stick that in this bowl, cover this with plastic wrap, and I'll put that in the fridge. Now, that goes in the fridge for a couple hours. When it comes out, we're going to get this, which is this beautiful dough, right? Now, it's firmed up now because it's been in the fridge for a while. And what I do with that is I'll just move it a little bit. I'll roll it into like a little log here. Now, what's cool about this is if you're making this Pici for just you know, and your family, it's kind of a pain in the butt because it's a lot of rolling and it's a tedious thing that, you know, the old Italian women would sit around and roll this out and they talk and, you know, shoot the breeze and tell stories, right? And so it was fun, right? So if you don't have a lot of time for that, then this isn't the pasta dough. You can just sub in, you know, a dried pasta dough like an orecchiette or a nice spaghetti, whatever you like, and just cook a dried pasta and sub that in on the recipe. But what's fun about this is to do this for parties. So if you have people over, you make the dough like this, and then you give everybody their own pasta and make them work a little bit, right? They want to come over to dinner at your house, they got to work. So what I do is make each one of them a little sheet like this of foil. So go take some foil, roll some foil out, okay? And then pinch the edges. Why are we pinching these edges? I just don't want my semolina all over the kitchen, right? And I'm sure you don't either. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna create this little kind of foil base for them, see, with the little edges on there. Then you have some semolina, which I have some here, and semolina flour is a little bit coarser, right? And we're gonna put that down. And that's just gonna be so when we roll the pasta out, it doesn't stick. Now I'm gonna kind of just brush it around in here. And you see what that looks like, right? Right? Get that in your hands, right? Now it just creates this dry environment for the pasta to sit in. Now, I'm gonna stick this to the side. I'll stick it up front here. Let me move, sorry about that. Let me move this out of the way, this pasta, the flour out of the way. And what we have here is a nice workspace, right? This nice, you know, it's got some flour on it, it's okay. It keeps it dry. We want it to be dry. We don't want it to be too floured because when we roll, we do want the tension between the rolling in your fingers. If there's too much flour on the surface, then what it'll do is it'll slide, and we don't want it to slide. We want it to catch and roll. So with this log like this, you give everybody a chunk, right? You give them a few chunks. So you give them like, cut these up into little, it doesn't matter the shape because they're gonna reshape it anyway. So they've got the shape like this in their hands, in their dry hands, and they're gonna roll it out with their hands. And then they press it even wider. And you can make this a fun competition to see who has the nicest looking Pici, right? So you start by the center and you roll it out like this. You see how that goes into this nice log shape, right? Okay, so you want to keep rolling it out. Now, Pici, the thinner it is, the better. You don't want these big fat udon noodle like pieces. So when it gets like around there, I cut it in half again. It's just easier to work with smaller pieces. And then you just keep rolling it out like this and pressing out, right? You don't want to press too much, right? Because you don't want to squish the dough. You just want to roll it between your fingers. And what you end up with is this rolled pasta that's kind of a really fun handmade shape, right? And then they stick that like this in their semolina, in their little own basket. So they're basically making their own dinner. And that's the way I like it, right? Get them working a little bit. I know they got their glass of wine on the side there, and they can make their own. It's kind of a really fun thing to do together as a group, right? So all they need, like when you can see, all they need is a few pieces, right? So you just roll like this, keep rolling out, okay? And that's it, like that, right? That looks good. So I'm going to cut that, and I want it to go real thin because, like I said, however thin you make this noodle, right, it's going to probably almost double in size. So you want to remember that, even though you think, okay, that's really thin, when you put it in the water, it's going to absorb some water, and it's going to puff up and be a little bit bigger than that. So you got to go super thin with this, otherwise your texture is. You know, this dough is less chewy than, like I said, like an eggless dough, but it's really nice. So I'm going to roll the rest of this out, and I'll see you back in a second. Okay, guys, we're back in the kitchen. I've got the last bit of my Pici I'm rolling out. You can see, you know, you don't have to be perfect. Okay, this is, you know, this is kind of fun in your kitchen with all of your friends, and that's what this is meant to be. Hand shape means hand shape. That means that everybody's hand's a little bit different. All the shapes are going to be a little bit different. But you can see with this, right? You've got a lot of different shapes. Your goal is to kind of not get them too big. So sometimes when they roll out, see, like when you roll it with the actual thing on there, it doesn't roll. You're just pressing it flat. So you can't really, once you've rolled them like this and you've put semolina on them, you can't mess with them pretty much. But the semolina will keep them from sticking together. So you can see they're roughly the same size. You see that? So you can go paper thin with these. The best Pici rollers that do this all the time, they make these super thin. Sometimes they use a little oil when they do it instead. But mainly they're using that. It's just a technique of pressing out while you roll. So you're always rolling. You're not pressing down, you're rolling with your fingers. And that, as you stretch it out and roll, that's what makes that nice shape. So with that, we're going to put this in my boiling water, which I have back here. So I'm going to do that, and we'll be right back. Okay, now I put all my pasta noodles in there, and I'm going to just stir it lightly, okay? So it's slightly salted water. We're just going to stir that, okay? And I'm going to let that cook. So that's going to take about 10 minutes to cook that pasta, okay? So while that's cooking, we're going to make our sauce for this, which is our carbonara. So with that, we've got eggs here. I've got some nice farm eggs, and we're going to do this. We're going to take the whites out, and I used to like to keep the whites to do different dishes with. You know, you can make meringue with that when you have a bunch of whites. It's kind of fun. And then with this, we only need the yolks. So we've got these beautiful yolks here, and we're going to do 4 yolks. This is probably a good recipe, you know, for two to 3 people. The pasta that I made there is probably enough for 2. You could make this for a few more if you wanted to, okay? And then I'm going to wipe my hands really good here, and I'm going to put my cheese in there. So actually, first we'll do black pepper. So I like a lot of black pepper in this. This dish is all about, you know, kind of bold flavors of the pepper, the salty cheese, and the bacon. Well, it's actually guanciale. So the traditional thing you'd use is guanciale, which is a cheek of the pork that's been cured with herbs, and it's amazing flavor, but I know it's harder for you to get. You could probably go online and have it sent to you because it is a cured meat. So it is something you can buy like that. I always have Bentons Bacon, which is a smoked bacon out of Eastern Tennessee. I'll put the link on there. It's a really small family farm place that makes probably the best smoked bacon in the country. Chefs love it. We used it in all of our restaurants for many years. And I always buy a slab of that, cut it up, wrap it in plastic wrap, put it in my freezer, and then I have a small amount that I use when I'm cooking for 1 or 2 people. So I would suggest doing the same, because having a really good smoked bacon like that is a nice substitute for this dish. If not, if you have guanciale, what you're going to do is cut it up really small, like you see I've done here, and render that. So now I've sauteed it till it's crispy, and I've got the bacon fat here. So what we're going to do is first, we're going to take the bacon fat. Let me see here. Let me do this actually. I just had to grab a fork, and I'm going to take the bacon fat and my eggs and my black pepper, and I'm going to whisk that up nicely, okay? And I'm going to take pecorino romano. This is locatelli. You can see it's right here, it's on here. You want to get a really nice pecorino romano like this, okay? So a real Italian one, okay? And this is going to be salty, made from sheep's milk. And then we're going to finally grate it on there. Could you buy this already grated? Because I know I see that this actually does have this Locatelli brand, and a lot of stores already grated. That's fine. So with this, with 4 eggs, it's going to be like about a half a cup of cheese. Okay, so there's a lot of cheese, right? And this cheese is salty because it's made with sheep's milk. So sheep's milk is a saltier cheese, and drier cheese. So you don't want to salt that water as much because we are going to use a little bit of that pasta water. Okay? So you can see how much I've got in there, ground up nice, right? And I'm going to mix that around in here until I make a paste, which you can see is what we've done here, right? And that's almost the right amount. It needs a little bit more. Okay, so half a cup. You see my paste? So egg yolk, bacon fat, or guanciale fat if you have it. And then I'm going to put the pieces of bacon in there. It's hard not to eat one of those. They're too good. Okay? And now we have our base. That's our sauce. So all we're going to do now is wait for our pasta to finish. And as soon as that finishes, we're going to strain it. And we're going to retain some of the pasta water. And we're going to make this dish. So give me 2 seconds. Let this pasta finish up and we'll finish this dish. Okay, so here I've strained out my pasta noodles. I've got a little bit of hot water from the pasta water. It's got the flavor of that pasta in there, as well as a touch of salt, not too much. And then I've got our pasta here that's drained. So now what we want to do is I actually like to just dump it right into here with the, dump it right in with my egg. And what it'll do is it's pasty, the egg, so the egg will get pasty on there. The heat from that's going to cook the egg, and that's what we want. We want to cook the egg. Now, to keep this creamy, because right now it is going to get pasty, as you can see, right? See how it's pasty? To make it creamier, you just add a little pasta liquid, and that's going to make it creamier, and you're going to see what you end up with is just beautiful, creamy, a creamy sauce made from that cooking egg and the bacon fat and the beautiful hot pasta water. And that's what you get, like that. You see that? So if you can leave it as pasty as you like. Some people like it when the egg is like very thick and starts to cook on there and almost scrambles on the actual pasta noodle. Some people like it creamier in a creamy sauce. So it really depends on you. So what I do, because I have basil in my garden, I love basil and pasta, I put this in. It's not necessarily classic with carbonara at all to use basil, but you know, I love fresh herb flavors too, and I love bacon and basil together. You know, so my bacon's not really a classic either, so it's okay to go with this, right? So with that, I'm gonna just pour my beautiful pasta in here with my bacon and basil. And bam, finish it with a little basil on the top. And you can even put a little bit more, you know, pecorino on top like this. Can't hurt. Can never hurt, right? And that's it. You have this beautiful, clean my dish up. And you've got a beautiful handmade pasta, Pici pasta, and carbonara. A version of carbonara. This version's with bacon and basil. And so, great textures. Bacon and eggs, basil, pasta. I mean, you can't go wrong. So, I hope you guys like it and try it at home. If you liked it, make sure you subscribe to my channel and we'll see you back soon. I'm Chef Dean Max.